Thank you very much for your welcome. And I would like to start with just a reminder of the lineage of these teachings coming down from Padmasambhava, 8th century, and having been kept secret for hundreds of years, especially to be taught during this period of time when we're going through what is commonly known as the Dark Ages. Um, these teachings were given specifically because at this point in time, with the kind of lives that we lead, we don't have time to go into retreat for years at a time. We have families and obligations and responsibilities that we have to attend to. And as a result of that, these teachings were given specifically for that. I want to go back just a little bit and talk very briefly about the 9 yanas because these teachings, the Ati teachings, Dzogchen teachings, are basically the highest teachings that you have in the ninth. This is the 9th yana teachings. And so the approach is a little bit different from those of us that have been sadhakas, practicing Vajrayogini, Chakrasamvara, and so forth. Um, the 9 yanas is basically a view of the entire path from when you first heard the teachings and you started to listen, and then you, Hinayana, you start to relate them to yourself, but you still have kind of a solitary uh, approach to that. And then we hit the Mahayana, the 3rd yana, the Bodhisattva yana, where now our focus is on other and also purifying our negative behavior patterns and so on. And the 3rd yana, the Bodhisattva yana, goes all the way through the 7th yana, the Mahayoga yana. And then the 8th yana, we hit Tantra, Vajrayana. And here is where we shift. So in the Hinayana, the first 2 yanas, Shravaka yana and Pratyeka yana, we're working with renunciation. And then with the Bodhisattva yana, we're working with transformation. So basically, we get the transmissions and we become the deity. And in being the deity, we have purity. We're coming from a pure point of view, and we are integrating into that view any negativity that exists. So when we say we pray for all sentient beings to be realized and to be happy and reduce their suffering, we're referring to, we don't say all human beings except for John and Mary and so forth that I'm having problems with, right? The deity extends that purity to everything. So that's transformation. You transform into the deity, you have the pure view, and now you are actually integrating any negativity or any um, fallacy that might exist into that purity. With the 9th yoga, the Ati Yoga yana and the Dzogchen yana, that is not the approach that is taken. It is not transformation. It is self-liberation, self-liberation. And it's self-liberation because you are going directly to the essence, your Buddha nature, what you are, the true purity that you exist. And within that purity, you have positive and negative that arises. Ignorance arises with the wisdom. They both arise together. And it's through our acknowledgement and recognition that we see the negativity and choose to do the skillful means, the positive. We don't pay attention at all. We accept it. It's part of the nature. It's part of what is. It's arising. We see it, and that's it. we let it dissolve. We let it go right back into the ocean of our being, the ocean of our basic energy, our primal purity, or whatever you want to refer to it as. Get here. So, in the actuality of being, which is Dzogchen, self-liberation, the distinction between being and becoming is not made. The being is the ground by which the becoming is made possible. So it's recognizing that, working with that. Human nature is grounded in the idea that a person is already perfect, but you don't realize it. And that is why it's called the path of self-liberation, self-liberation. So let me see what I wanted also to bring forth. Hatha Yogayana deals with one's existential being, fulfillment of your full potential. The point of view of the Dzogchen is that if you use any technique to realize or gain something, you have automatically changed, modified, or in a sense contrived the original natural state of mind. So the ground is to discover and experience the natural state, which is your Buddha nature. How do we do that? So here's where shamatha and vipassana, and it has been said that if one does not practice shamatha or vipassana, you will not have the opportunity to experience your basic nature. It is not something that I can tell you. I can only point. This is something that you must discover for yourself. And that's why shamatha, shine, calming the mind, allowing space, allowing you to have an opportunity to glimpse the natural state. That is the way that you begin to practice. So shamatha and vipassana. Now, vipassana organically, automatically becomes right out of shamatha. You don't create that separately. Shamatha is where you're watching your breath and stillness. So we have many of the traditions like Zen tradition, where you want the mind to be still, calm, peaceful. And so the technique that we use is coming back to the breath. There are many different techniques that one can use. In our tradition, we use the breath, coming back to the breath. Whenever you realize that you've been carried away by your thoughts, in some traditions, you say thinking to cut that and come back to the out breath. You ignore the in breath and you come back to the out breath. And when you do that, the mind begins to settle and you experience a stillness. Nothing's happening. You're just there with your breath until you have a thought. Now the mind is moving. And so when the mind starts to move, that's one of the natural things. In the stillness, the shane, many people think meditation is just coming to the stillness, discovering that calm state, and that's it. Now you've succeeded in your meditation practice. But that is only the beginning because that is not the natural state. You have stillness and you have movement. And when you have a thought, that's when you acknowledge and you find the movement. So now you have stillness and movement. And you also have something else. We're going to talk about the actual nature of the base, the Dzogchen base, the base of your primal purity. So you have essence, which is emptiness. In other words, when a thought arises and it dissolves into nothing. So essence, emptiness is one of the qualities, the essence of what our being is. And it also has clarity, or many instances is called luminosity. where you observe the thoughts, and all our experiences of body, energy, and mind are part of our clarity. They're not two different things. Emptiness and clarity are two aspects of the same thing. They are not two different conditions. And the third quality is energy. And the energy is, as stated, without interruption. And it's without interruption because it's constantly in motion. For instance, you have your senses. So at this moment, you're seeing something, you're hearing something, you're smelling something, you're tasting something, and it's all happening simultaneously. And it's changing in every second. The air that we breathe, the temperature that we're experiencing. If you have your air conditioner on, it's cool, it's warm, and so forth and so on. So that energy is constantly in motion. So the movement of thought in the mind and everything that arises in the mind are considered to be part of our clarity. So we have essence, emptiness, we have nature, which is clarity, luminosity, and we have energy. So the movement of thought in the mind and everything that arises in the mind is considered to be part of our clarity. Mahamudra represents relative and absolute truths. You can't isolate yourself in pure vision alone. A construction of the mind creates deities, a pure relative condition where everything is integrated and we go beyond concepts and achieve Mahamudra. So it's the realization of the mind's true nature, awareness and emptiness. In other words, your Mahamudra experience, you have the deity, you've integrated everything into the purity of that vision, of that approach, of that awareness. And at some point, because it's all there's nothing else to diffuse that. You experience Mahamudra. So in the Dzogchen view, impure vision and pure vision, there's no difference. They're both part of the essence. That's why, again, it's called self-liberation, not transformation. So the real meaning of meditation, contemplation, is to dwell in our real nature, which includes movement, energy, and clarity. The base never changes. Essence, nature, energy. If thoughts arise and we don't follow them, this is the state of contemplation. This state of clarity or instant presence is the enlightened state. When we have contact through the senses and think and judge, this is dualism, suffering. This is ego. So we should turn our awareness within ourselves, and this is Rigpa, this is the pure state of awareness. Not outside, judging, thinking, multiplying our dualistic vision. Emptiness has clarity, and it manifests everything as energy without interruption. So the method is to work concretely, directly with our experience. When we are in a state of contemplation, there's no concept of good or bad, pure or impure. This is dualistic vision. You observe yourself instead of looking at objects. You see your limitations, your condition and existence. You observe yourself rather than judging others. That's where the example of the mirror is constantly used, because the mirror is beyond judgment and analysis. It just shows you what's there, what's in front of it, but there's nothing else attached to it, just the image that it's reflecting. And so that is our basis for undoing our negative patterns. When we see them for what they are, providing we don't get sucked into the energy of following through on ignorance, passion, and aggression. So when we are in our real nature, there is no change at all. You are not changing or transforming anything. This is the meaning of self-liberation. You are just recognizing what is arising. So we must work concretely, directly with our experience. And when we are in a state of contemplation and not transforming anything, there is no concept of pure or impure. Practice refers to the state of rigpa, complete awareness. The mirror again as an example, no judgment, observing our own limitations and existence, condition, intentions, self-evaluation. This is the equivalent to same flavor in Mahamudra. It does not matter whether there is a nice or an ugly reflection. There is no change. This is the real meaning of self-liberation. So direct experience through our senses, and that through these direct experiences we discover our real nature. Um, okay, I want to talk here and bring us to some part of the new information now that we had. We did talk briefly about how we use emotions as a path of awakening and so forth. And just recently, Kempo Taekyon put out something that I thought was really unique. And perhaps what I'll do the next time is bring that into it, because this is exactly what he's talking about, is how we use our emotions as a path of awakening. Simply letting the emotion be just as it is. We don't suppress it. We don't get carried away. We relate to the basic substance. Seeing the emotions as they are is the practice of shunyata, emptiness. Emotions are seen through. This is the ultimate practice of nonviolence, no good or no bad. So we're going back now to the subject or the example that I gave last time of first thought and then second thought. And I used the example of I'm making a pot of soup and I ask you to taste it, see if it needs more salt. So we learn to recognize first thought, which is the actual experience. When you taste that, before you have any comment, you have an experience of what that is. And that's what teachers point out as the pointing out instruction. Whenever you have a situation where you are jolted from thinking or whatever, it's like bang, and you look up and or wherever you look, you have that experience, that moment of ah, gap. Um, your mind goes blank. You're not coming from any reference point. You're just open and there it is. So that is your essence. That's when you begin to experience your basic essence, your ocean. Because the emotions and the thoughts, as we said last time, are the waves on top of the ocean, but the ocean itself doesn't change. It's always there. So Dzogchen meditation is practiced in order to bring forth what is latent or hidden in our subconscious or unconscious. It is used to bring forth what is already there. Emotions, prejudices, attitudes, and disturbances have a direct and an indirect effect on our lives. And as long as we are right there in the presence of our emotional state, this one is in in a meditative state. Mental events and activities need to be assimilated rather than pushed aside or judged. So, meditation is related to not getting distracted and becoming vulnerable and subjected to states of mind of depression and elation. Whatever we experience is part of meditation. It doesn't matter if the mind is disturbed or at ease. Both of these states of mind are the meditative experience. So the aim of Dzogchen is to remain in the natural state, in the ocean. One is no longer working with emotions or trying to do anything specific. The aim is to remain in the natural state, in the ocean. To do anything is interfering with the natural state. Recognizing, constantly recognizing, that's all you have to do. Dzogchen practice is designed to unconceal or reveal one's true condition by recognizing that one has certain undesirable characteristics and possesses varieties of uncontrolled passions. Instead of suppressing or ignoring these discrepancies, the first step is acknowledgement. One must recognize what is undesirable, suppressed feelings, contrived ideas, emotional disturbances. It's recognizing. So I want to look now at the quotes. I had sent some quotes for this session, and I was hoping that you would have time to just look at them and see what you understood from them. The burden of responsibility is on me to help point out what we're talking about. And if I can't do that, then everybody's in a different place. Everybody understands certain things and is at certain places in development. But these teachings go right to the heart. So it's really important that we don't conceptualize what we think is being said, but we keep pointing to something that you can experience, that you have some real idea, not idea, real experience of what is being pointed to. And I'm hoping with the quotes that we're doing, and if you are practicing, not just during your practice times with shamatha and vipassana, but that you are carrying these principles of what we're talking about into your daily life. Every situation that you have, everything that arises in your mind, everything you experience in work, play, sleep, whatever, is all related to this. We don't say, okay, well, now I'm not going to do that anymore. I don't have to worry about that. No, no, no. It's 24/7, all the time. So the first quote here is by Garchen Rinpoche, and it's entitled "Observe That Which Never Goes Away." So there are many thoughts that always arise, but thoughts are impermanent. They come and go. The mind from which they arise, however, abides like space, the ocean. It never comes and goes. It's always there. When you come back to your breath, that space is there. It didn't go anywhere. We went somewhere in our minds, mentally, with our thoughts and emotions. But that space, the ocean, is always there. It is like space, or a vast ocean, or a mirror. It never goes anywhere, just like space. Therefore, do not cling to the temporary thoughts. No matter how much you cling to them, you cannot actually hold on to them, as they are impermanent by nature. Rather, observe that which never goes away, the clear, knowing awareness that recognizes all the thoughts arising. This awareness is the Buddha within you. It is your true nature. Whatever thoughts arise, negative thoughts, sadness, afflictive emotions, do not follow them, but continue to observe with mindfulness. When this mindfulness is sustained, arising thoughts will naturally dissipate without the need to abandon them. This awareness must be upheld, not only in meditation sessions, but also during all your activities. No matter what you experience, happiness or suffering, it does not affect your awareness. It is always is as it is. This nature is Buddha nature, and every being has it. So there's one thing that I need to say. When we see the thought or we have a thought, the tendency is to go. When you get slipped away into it, it's already gone, and you're gone with it. So it's like if you can catch it as it's just arising, you still have space around it where you don't have to get sucked into it. It's when you get sucked into it that it's hard to let go of. So the second one is by Namkai Norbu, and it's called Self-Liberation. Self-liberation in the Dzogchen sense means that whatever manifests in the field of the practitioner's experience is allowed to arise just as it is, without judgment, of it as good or bad, beautiful or ugly. And in that same moment, if there is no clinging or attachment, without effort or even volition, whatever it is that arises, whether as a thought or as a conceptualization of a seemingly external event, automatically liberates itself by itself and of itself. Practicing in this way, the seeds of the poison tree of dualistic vision never even get a chance to sprout, much less to take root and grow. So the practitioner lives his or her life in an ordinary way without needing any rules other than one's own awareness, always remaining in the primordial state through integrating that state with whatever arises as part of experience without absolutely nothing to be seen outwardly to show that one is practicing. This is what is meant by self-liberation. This is what is meant by the name Dzogchen, which means great perfection. And this is what is meant by non-dual contemplation or simply contemplation. So I'd like to just kind of stop here and give people a chance to ask any questions or make any comments that you might have, or if there's anything confusing that has come up for you with regard to anything that I've said or any of these quotes. There are more, but we're going to just go up to this point right here and and then we'll proceed, we'll continue and take questions again at the next one. So does anyone have any questions? Um,
I have a
I'm going to
question.
ask Jody if you could just call on people because I really can't see. I'm so inept when it comes to um, technology.
No worries. So Lisa has a question.
Okay.
Yeah. So, is this also what you're describing, like when you're outside of meditation, same type of thing when a thought arises, like let's say something makes you angry on the outside, should you just, before you get to, you know what I'm saying?
So you're saying, I'm going to clarify. So you're saying that if you get angry on the outside,
When you're
right?
not meditating. Yeah, if
When
you
you're
get, if
right,
something, yeah, brings up that
that
feeling.
anger.
Right,
Um,
right.
Immediately, as soon as, because you will feel it in your body, right? When you get angry,
Mhm. Mhm.
you feel that it's starting to arise. You feel those sensations. And you feel you like the hairs on the back of your neck standing up. You can feel yourself starting to work up. That's the moment. You don't do anything with that. You go right into it. You look at it. You examine it. Where is this coming from? Why am I feeling this way? What is happening here? You're going into yourself. That's the mirror. So instead of saying, oh, what an obnoxious person, that they're actually creating this feeling of anger in me, and it could be that you would say to yourself, well, I feel justified in feeling anger. But that's not the purpose of our meditation. That's the commentary. That's the judgment. And that may be true, that this person is out of line, maybe, for actually doing this particular action that is creating this response. But that's your practice. Your practice is to go immediately to your body and feel what's happening there and why are you getting angry? What nerve are they touching there? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It doesn't
Okay.
matter what they're doing. I have to look inside my own anger.
That's
Okay.
exactly right. Because the minute
Yeah.
you look outside, now we're coming with ego. And you could be justified. That person
Hmm.
should not be doing that. But you're the one that's getting out of control. Your
Right.
anger is arising and taking over. And now you're going to go into the duality of justification. So what you want to do is you go into yourself, the mirror, you reflect what is happening within you and why it's striking that. Then what you have is skillful means. Like, let's just say, we'll take an extreme example. Let's just say that somebody is doing something to an animal or to a young person, a child or something they shouldn't be doing. They're hurting them in some way or attacking them or just some action. And you are maybe justified but it's not the anger, it's the skillful means that you would employ in that situation. It's not to say that you suspend your action. You're looking to yourself, you're seeing where it's coming from, but then you drop it and it's like spontaneous presence, spontaneous action. Somebody's drowning, right? And
Hmm.
you know how to swim and you don't say, oh, well, I don't know, the currents are going the wrong way and I'll probably get drifted out. I mean, obviously, you never suspend your intelligence if you don't know how to swim or you're not a good swimmer and you can see that if you were to go in there, you would have no idea what you were doing, then that might not be so good. But if you've had a lifeguard experience and you see somebody there, you don't think about, oh, should I go in or not? No, you're there. You're on your way in to rescue them. And it's the same thing with situations in life. If there's some um, situation happening where someone's getting hurt or you have to do an action on the spot, you do it. But you don't go in and say, oh, well, I think I should be justified in doing this. And why is that? It's like you're not judging outside. The minute you have judgment coming in, I'm not talking about wisdom, I'm talking about judgment. I don't know how to differentiate that. Um,
Judgment maybe me thinking I'm better than them.
that definitely would
And
be, that would definitely be something where that shouldn't be happening to me. Don't they know who I am? They should be respecting me or something like that. Um, but that's perfect because now you can go and you can say, what is that? I should have they should be respecting me. Who am I? You want to look at that. Like you've decided that their action with respect to who you are is not appropriate, is not respectful, perhaps. But
Or I was thinking more.
you don't take it personally. Because if you take it personally, now you have justification about why you're better than they are, or they should be respecting you.
Or I was thinking more like if they're doing like a bad act, like you described earlier, I shouldn't be thinking you're the bad person, I'm the good. Like, I don't know. That's a weird, I don't know. Trying to relate it to how I should not be judging.
Well, no, it's not there's you have to be careful now because judgment and wisdom, you know this act should not be happening. That's wisdom. That's intelligence. Judgment is where you say, right, you should not be doing that because I've decided that you shouldn't be doing that. Or I think
Okay.
that it's not quite right, or in other words, and you'll find when like Trungpa Rinpoche would always talk about fear being one of the major things that we have to overcome because that's where mostly all of our behavior patterns, our negative ones, are on. We don't want to be annoyed, we don't want to be irritated, and so forth. And so we think, well, fear, being afraid, but that's what it is. You don't want to deal with that. So you turn away from that. But spontaneous presence is when you just into action, like people who are on emergency situations, like a side of a road or something, and something happens, they don't think about, they just do it
Mhm.
on the spot. It just does, they just do it. And that's what spontaneous, that's how we really should be living our lives, is where we're not necessarily judging everything. Oh, I shouldn't be doing that because da 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 da. But if it's something that you're there and you need to act because something bad will happen, then you do it because you know that's the right thing to do. I said that I shouldn't say the right thing to do because what you would consider the right thing to do and what somebody else would consider the right thing to do, but you have to, at some point, you have to, that's where your skillful means and your intelligence and your wisdom come into being. How skillful you have learned to be, how wise you have learned to become, so that your actions are, and that's Tong Lin. For Tonglen, whenever any situation arises, they have a little slogan where it gives you the correct action for that particular situation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You can mull that around and we can come back to it again. And maybe as we go through more of these, it will become clearer and so forth. Um, and we'll just see what happens.
So
Okay?
Ani has a question now. Go ahead,
Okay.
Ani.
Thank you. Um, the example that you gave initially, or the situation where going internally and finding why it is you're angry or why you feel it's problematic, would in Dzogchen, in this line of training the mind, would any action also be like that? For example, if something makes you happy, if something makes you laugh, uh, something makes you sad, whatever emotion that comes up, given whatever situation that has come up, rather than judging the situation, then you are we saying that you look inward and see where that emotion has occurred in the body, how it has manifested itself, etc., etc.? Is that the line of thinking that where you are suggesting that we develop?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
It's every happy, sad, doesn't matter, not just the
Mm.
sad or the happy, sad. Why? Look inside the mirror. You're looking inside. Where did that come from? Why did I react that way? It's not to get too intellectual, but you should begin to notice when things are arising, emotions and feelings and so forth are arising within you, where are they coming from? Why are you experiencing that?
So, what is the somatic experience and the experience that you just mentioned? Are they one and the same or two different processes?
When you say somatic, you're referring to the body.
Body, exactly. Of
Um,
feeling tightness of the stomach
it could be
or feeling
mentally, but
mhm,
your body and your mind
mhm.
um, will be affected. They're interdependent. So if you're experiencing something, your body in your mind, your body is also experiencing. There's something happening there. A good indication of this is the breath.
Mm.
When you are, oh, I don't know if I can do this. Oh, let me see, etc. As opposed to being calm.
I was holding my breath now, waiting for your reply. I just noticed and I thought, okay, you're holding your breath. It's
Uh-huh.
going to, Milarepa will not manifest itself any second. Don't hold your breath.
Well, if you hold it, I mean, it's important for you because reactions mentally you do affect your body and vice
Mm.
versa. It goes back and forth. They're interdependent. And so and you're being aware, and you have to be careful because you don't want to get to a point where you're so intellectual. Do you know what I mean? It's like you want to know where things are coming from. Especially if you're upset about something or whatever, you need to look at that. Where's that coming from? Is it coming from ego, where I'm disappointed I didn't get the expectation that I had expected, and therefore I'm suffering for that. I didn't get the acknowledgement that I felt I deserved, and so therefore I'm not quite happy with whatever is happening now and so forth. It's important. That's why it's self-liberation, because you're going back into yourself. You're not judging outside there. But you do have a responsibility because you're living in this physical, phenomenal world. If something is happening and you're there in that space, then you're also affected by that. So you'll have probably a reaction. You're not just like, oh, I just have to look into myself and the ceiling is coming down. No. So that's why I say the wisdom, your intelligence, you never suspend your intelligence, your wisdom. Oh, I'm sitting in the middle of the street and a car is coming. You know, that doesn't work. That's and so on. Any other question?
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, well, let's go to the next quote. And this is by integrating every moment of your life, you are beyond meditation and non-meditation. Although meditation is helpful, if we want to continuously be in our real nature, meditation alone is not sufficient. Normally, we can meditate half an hour or maybe 1 hour. Some people can sit for 2 or 3 hours a day, but that's it. During the other 22 or 23 hours, we live in complete distraction, especially in this modern world where we have to work, raise children, pay our bills, and we also need time to cook, to eat, and to sleep. So, how can we possibly remain in the state of our real nature 24 hours a day, week after week, year after year? The answer is that we need to integrate everything we do in that state. Integration is a key Dzogchen practice, and it is integration that makes this teaching particularly useful in these modern times when people do not have much time to sit alone and meditate or to go to some cave and stay in retreat for years and years. Integration means that while we go about our daily life, We are not remaining in a dualistic vision. Remember the example of the mirror. If we look in the mirror, see our reflection, and say, oh, this is my reflection. This is dualistic vision. Non dualistic vision means to be in the nature of the mirror. We don't see reflections, we reflect everything. This is just our potentiality. We do not need to separate ourselves from the reflections and judge them. When we have this capacity, it means there is no difference between meditation and non meditation because everything and every moment of our life is integrated into our real nature. Questions there? Either you didn't understand anything or you understood everything. Everybody okay with that?
I didn't understand anything, so I really don't have a question.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Um, okay. Let me see if I can find the section here that is so integration means that while we go about our daily life, we are not remaining in a dualistic vision. If it's dualistic, it means that when something happens to you or you're thinking about something, and it usually coming from you're happy, you're sad, I feel good, I feel bad, this is going okay, this is not going okay. You're making judgments. So when you integrate, what you're working with is the feeling, the emotion that you are experiencing. The mirror, right? You're looking at what's happening. You're not judging. You're not generating thoughts, good or bad, happy, sad. You are just looking inward in your mind, in the ocean, in your basic essence. What is going on there? You're looking at what's going on inside of you. You're not making a judgment about it. You're looking at it directly. What's happening in you, in your mind, in your body. Does that make any sense? Did you understand any of that? I'm sorry, I don't see you, so I don't know if you're responding in a quiet way or whether you're just still confused.
Where's my hand?
Bruce is asking a question now, Lama Rina.
So, in the course of the day, there's basically a constant stream of events. You get up, do your things you do in the morning, you get in the car, you drive to work, etc.
Yes.
So, at any given moment, you could have a reaction. So, it kind of seems like we have this almost constant stream of self-introspection that we're trying to support during the day.
Well, you're experiencing things. Remember, we talked about energy and movement and luminosity and emptiness and
Mhm.
constant, right? So
See?
that's going on all the time, but you're experiencing it. You're tasting the soup. Ah, then you've made a judgment about that.
Mhm.
So it's the tasting of the soup, the experiencing of driving in your car, getting up, sleeping, having your breakfast, just ordinary. There's no judgment. Now, the minute you put the judgment on it, you like it, you don't like it, you're annoyed. Um, that's what we're talking about. So it's having the experience without labeling the second thought, without putting anything on it, without naming it, in essence.
Hmm.
It's looking, it's going into your into your ocean, into your mirror, into your space, and experiencing that. And that's okay. It's not like to say, oh yes, well I have this, well that was good, well that's not so good. You leave out the good and the not so good and whatever. It is what it is.
Hmm.
There's nothing more to it than that. Now, when things become something more than that, that's what you're looking at.
Okay. So, so we have this constant stream of events, and the constant, essentially a constant stream of opportunities for judgment to arise.
Yes.
So we're applying our introspection, probably the wrong term, but we're examining what's going on constantly. So, but the thing is, it kind of sounds like passivity. But I guess when I also hear you speak about the application of wisdom, it's our it would be the effort to A, um, bring forth introspection, but then B, also have access or remember to apply wisdom that would would cause this to be something other than just living and letting whatever happens happen without any reaction to it.
Well, you have a reaction. That's what you're looking at is your reaction. In
You
other
mean take
words, all right, you have your experience. We have our five senses, right?
see? Okay.
I'm eating an ice cream cone. I can smell it, I can taste it, I can, all my senses are active, right? So there's
Hmm.
that. But we're not talking about just ordinary, that you're aware. It's just like your meditation practice. You didn't fall asleep. You're there in the space, sitting.
Hmm.
So you're experiencing in that moment, just being. And if a thought arises, it arises, but you don't get swept away with it. You stay with your breath, although you recognize that a thought has arisen.
Hmm.
But if you're a more accomplished practitioner, then when the thought arises, you don't necessarily get swept away with it. You are just recognizing that a thought has arisen, but you're still conscious of the space that you are in, the space of the meditation where you are in. It's happened.
Hmm.
If
Right.
somebody is in the room, that walks in the meditation room, and you notice your awareness sees them come in and so forth, uh, but you don't necessarily say, "Oh, look at that jacket they have on. Gee, I wonder. I had one just like that." Da 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 da. Da. Now you've been swept away, or the jacket. Um, oh, I really like it. I like the color, and you go into that. That's what. So if you catch the thought, if you recognize the thought as a thought, and usually when you do that, you're still in the space.
Hmm.
I don't know if I can, in other words, you're still conscious of the space, but you also recognize the thought that is arising about that.
Hmm.
But you don't leave the space. You just recognize it's a thought
Hmm.
and just let it dissolve. You don't do it, you don't follow it, you don't do
Right.
anything with it. You just let it dissolve by itself. Now, if you have something where you have a strong reaction yourself, that's where you look at it and then you don't, um, if somebody's insulting you and you're feeling something with respect to that, you look at that because why are you being affected by that? It's just somebody talking. They could be saying anything. It's how you're taking it personally. When minute you take it personally, there's a judgment there. When you have the judgment, that's where you have the ego,
Mhm.
because now you're coming into ego's realm.
Okay.
Um, did that answer any of your questions, or do you
Well,
still?
I think that the issue is to go back to the idea of the application, just either recognizing the opportunity to fall into judgment, the opportunity to react out of wisdom. A lot of times, since I'm still in business, I'm doing things, I'm trying to get things accomplished. So, for example, if I'm trying to get a particular project started and one of the participants is dragging their feet, I may have a judgment reaction to it. On the other hand, there needs to be, I think, some analysis. Why is this person, entity, whatever, behaving this way? So,
Okay,
so
just right there, right there. So this person is dragging their feet, right? So
yeah.
now your skillful means comes into play, where you relate with them and you share with them your view in a skillful way, hopefully, that they
Mhm.
will see that you are seeing that and pick up, do more of what they need to be doing, right? That's okay. But knowing that you've made the judgment on that based on you're the boss, right? You're expecting certain things to be happening, right? And if it's not happening, you see what you feel, right? It's not
Mhm.
happening. So there's something there. But now your skillful means comes into play. So now is a matter of how can you relate to this person with compassion, but get the thought across that maybe they need help. Maybe they don't know what they're doing. Maybe you have to get them help, or maybe
Mhm.
they're just too lazy and don't want to do it. But you need to find out because if they need help and you can give it to them, then you do that. And if you can't give them help and they're not qualified to do the job, then you might have to take other action.
So it sounds like dispassionate analysis,
Yes,
the term I just
but
came up.
that's right. But if you engage with this person and this person really gets kind of arrogant with you, right? Um, you can't get angry, you can't get arrogant with them. You have to feel why you're feeling the way you're feeling
Hmm.
and realize this person is completely disrespectful. You know, they have no right to really, you might think they have no right to really feel that way. If you act on your emotion, then the action will not be skillful. But if you act on a compassionate way where you might have to fire them. You may have to do that. And that's okay because they can't, you're hiring them to do a particular job. You're trying to help them do that job, provide whatever it is that they need so that they can do that job, but they're not capable of doing it. So maybe you can find them another job, what they can do. Or I don't
Hmm.
know, there could be many different other solutions and so forth. But the main thing is that you take in whatever you're experiencing, whatever's coming at you, You take it, feel it, taste it, smell it, and you don't necessarily put any judgment on them at all. You're the one, it's your experience. You are the mirror. It's not an ugly image or a good image. It's an image, period.
Okay, I think I have some clarity here.
All right, and don't hesitate because it's like when you first hear something, this is a new practice, basically. This is a whole other way of practicing. Um, and you have to contemplate, you have to experience, and then you get some understanding of what is being, um, where the direction is going.
Mm,
So keep asking your questions and keep contemplating. That's important, and especially experience.
mm. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hello, I have a question. Um, can you hear me?
I hear an echo.
Yeah, we have an echo going. I don't know who, I have to see who's speaking right now. I can't even see it.
What I found is that usually you have several
Oh, yeah.
things on simultaneously,
Yeah.
and so it's picking it up on each one, and that's why we're getting that. Um,
I
would you
think
give a question again, please?
What is the
Jody, do you make
I don't know. We have to mute them. I can't figure it out. I can't figure out what she's saying. So Lisa, can we
Yeah,
mute?
I muted, yeah.
Okay.
Lynn, can you put the question in the chat? Okay.
Are there any other questions?
I don't think so. I don't see anybody asking at this time.
All right, well, I'm going to continue then. Here, we'll go down to the next one. Okay, so the next one is a poem by Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche from the book Brilliant Moon. And he says, while mind is watching mind, though there is nothing to see, it is vividly clear, uncontrived, free, and at ease in that state. Rest naturally, simply undistracted. Whatever thought occurs from that state, without stopping or analyzing, watch its very nature. I'm going to just put right here, watch its very nature. When you watch its very nature, what you are doing is you are watching it and identifying it as a thought. You have a thought. That's when you see it in space. Because if you can't watch its nature if you've been swept away into the thought. Okay, I'm going back to the poem now. Its arising doesn't obscure the absolute nature. Whatever occurs, relax right there. Don't follow thoughts about the past. Don't anticipate thoughts about the future. Directly transcend the external world. That is called four parts without three: past, present, future, and then, of course, the fourth moment, which is Rigpa, not having any self involved in that. Okay. If you maintain this recognition of thoughts, you will feel that they do not truly begin, remain, or end. Though you notice them, they have no effect on your true nature. That is the bare, natural state, the way it is. If you take that empty awareness, open and carefree, as the path, all the time during formal practice and afterward, you will quickly and surely acquire confident realization that confusion is freed by itself. It is very helpful to mingle your mind inseparably with your teachers. By settling in equipoise within that state, developing faith and devotion, you will meet the natural face of the Dharmakaya. Especially guard the continuity of impermanence, renunciation, and pure discipline like your own eyes. Never diminish your one-pointed diligence in the heart of the matter, the essential yoga of the profound meaning, alternating study, reflection, and meditation. The one will help the others. Ultimately, that is what you need to resolve. So practice the essential meaning with tenacity. May this delightful, sacred offering cloud of essential pith instructions cause you to gain realization of the definitive secret that is like space. So, any questions about that?
I also have Lynn's question, if no one has a question about that.
Okay.
So Lynn, what if the experience is the gap or jolt you referred to? How do you handle that?
Supposedly, when you are totally free, you live in the gap. The gap is just openness. And many times when you're in the fourth moment, when you are experiencing the fourth moment, you don't remember it. You know the boundaries of it when you went in and out of it. But while you're in it, you have gap experience. There's no consciousness. We're back to the soup and tasting the soup. There's no you in there. There's just experience. Does that answer the question? I remember one time I was at seminary with Trungpa Rinpoche, and I had asked a question, and he called on me to ask the question, and it was completely gone. And then he said, "That's it. That's it." And I'm so confused. Like there was nothing there. How could that be it? So, the gap is when you have no sense of me, I in there. It's just complete openness. Like when you're doing your shamatha practice and you're just there and you're just present, but there's nothing going on in the mind. You're just there. There's awareness. But the gap is again, like when I give you the example, usually they refer to the gap as, like all of a sudden you forget what you were saying. Gap. Or you get distracted and you don't, uh, there's no me in there. What I was doing, what I was thinking, where nothing. It's just openness. Like you're walking down the street and you turn a corner and you bump into someone that you, any other question?
She also asked, do you try to stay in it if it's very transient?
You can't try to do anything because the minute you try, who's trying? Gap is complete openness. You can't have anything in there. There's no I in there. It happens. A gap. And then you come back and something starts going again. Is that it, Jody?
Yep, that is. And we're at 7:45. So
Oops.
I think we're good, even though we can have you on all night, Lama Rina.
Oh, that's fine. What I would recommend is there's still one more, the practice of Mahamudra by Kalu Rinpoche when he was giving the Kala Chakra empowerment in New York City. This is in the early 80s. That's the last one. And I won't cover it tonight, but maybe what you could all do is I understand that you all have these and you could look through them. And then perhaps the next time that we meet, if you have any questions, then we could look at it from there. How's that?
That sounds great.
Okay, perfect. Let's dedicate our merit. By this merit, may all obtain omniscience. May it defeat the enemy wrongdoing from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of samsara. May I free all beings by the confidence of the golden sun of the great east. May the lotus garden of the Rigdon's wisdom bloom. May the dark ignorance of sentient beings be dispelled. May all beings enjoy profound, brilliant glory. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lama Rina. We're so
Thank you.
grateful that you.
Wait a minute. I have a question, Lama Rina.
Yes?
Um, what you referred to, is that the book, The Single Sufficient Virtue, that maybe some of us would want to buy before your next session?
No, what I had is I had sent to Jody
Oh,
these quotes, and I asked her how we could. What I wanted to do is give you all the opportunity to kind of look at them and kind of digest them to see, because sometimes when you hear something for the first time, you're not. But if you have a chance to kind of contemplate a little bit,
yes.
you have a chance to really ask some questions, things that you don't
Yes.
understand. And so I had sent these, and according to the response I got back, she sent them out to everyone
Yes.
on the invitation to come to this teaching. Is that
Yes.
correct, Jody?
Yeah,
Yes.
so the newsletter that we sent out, Daniel, if
Yep.
you look at it, you'll see a link. And on that link, it has the entire all the quotes that Lama Rina was reading from this evening.
Great. Thanks.
And you can refer back to that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So I wanted to just say something because this is this is the 4-part series is complete tonight. Not that it's actually, I think it is. This is the last one. But what I wanted to say is that we were so grateful that you were here with us and did this series. And we really would love for you to come back. And I'll
Mm.
speak with you
Yes.
about it and we'll make it happen. But just how fortunate we are as a Sangha to be able to have you, Lama Rina, with us. And I'm really grateful for your wisdom and your teaching. And I just wanted to let you know. And I know we all feel the same way.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate
Thank you
that.
very much.
Thank
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. And Lama Rina, I'll be in touch, and we'll see everybody next week. And thanks so much. Good
All
night.
right. Good night.
Good night.